We're Team Guco, and we've built a prototype for pregnant women with gestational diabetes. GDM for short is a severe and neglected threat to mothers and children around the world. In 2019, 13% of live births had some form of hyperglycemia in pregnancy due to GDM. So we designed an easy way to remind and motivate mothers with the process of logging their data during their unique pregnancy. Here's what we learned in our research.
Imagine you're a happy pregnant lady who loves pizza and learns you have gestational diabetes. This makes most women anxious, confused, and guilty. Anxious because their bodies are changing and they don't know if they're eating right. Confused when there's blood sugar spike and they can't figure out why. It's hard to stick to a diet, even harder when you have pregnancy cravings, so women end up feeling guilty. Diabetes apps don't work because they're designed for long-term diabetics and they are too complicated. Fitness apps don't have blood sugar tracking, so they don't help doctors guide women. How do we know this? We read forums and we found things like you can do everything right and still have sugar spike. And cravings are the biggest conversation topic, and it's weird that most applications ignore it altogether. We also asked them to make sure we had the whole picture, and we learned that there is a constant decision fatigue, planning and pre-planning your meals. No one plan works together and forever. And it's hard to track your data in multiple apps. One conclusion is simple: a blood sugar and meal logging app in one place. But our bigger insight, to make sure it works, we need to make sure the whole experience feels calming and free of judgment.
Okay, so here we have the loading screen for our Guco app. Once the user opens the app, they see this animation and we land on the sign up screen. One huge challenge to the user is that meal logging can be really tedious, especially when it's a temporary condition. So we were really intentional about picking colors that were easy on the eye, but also really fun, unlike some of their competitors. So once the user enters the onboarding stage, we have some informational slides here that help inform and motivate the user about why they should be logging their information in the first place. Then we move on to this basic step-by-step customized user experience that helps us learn about them and their regular user flows. There's also an opportunity here where they can let us know if they take insulin or not, because that can change a lot about their processes. Here's a unique opportunity for them to make a vow, which is really empowering, and they can commit to taking care of their health and their baby's health through video. Moving on to the home screen, we have some key elements here on top that are really important. We have a progress ring that always lets them know whenever they're on the app how much progress that they've made and how many weeks they have left to go. That's just really empowering. And then we have the 12-day streak on the left, which is just a fun factor. And then on the right, a reminder for when their next meal is. Today's activity feed is empty for now, but we'll come back to this later when it's full. On to you, Archie.
Thank you, Sam. How about we hit that big inviting plus button and start logging some data now. So with manual logging, you're just going to be typing in that meal name. We're using smart filtering that will auto-suggest some meals based on your history. We can also take a picture of our meal, which will use image recognition to label that meal for us, as well as taking a memo, a voice message to log your meal for that meal intake. Finally, we have a glucose level tracker to keep track of your glucose level in milligrams per deciliter. Let's take a look at our data tab that will correlate our meal entry to our glucose levels and produce some meaningful data for the patient to review with their doctor. And then finally, we have our user preferences where they can set up their app just the way they like it, and also review their meals. And every single day is saved right here, and they can go into each and every day and review the meals. And back to the home page, we now see our data being populated right here, and we see some meaningful glucose levels and what led to those measurements.